I think we've reached a stage in our relationship when I should address the big fucking burning question. Why have I suddenly released a torrent of videos about books and booktubing this last week? Am I a booktuber? I have no idea. But what I realized was I was looking on the internet, looking around YouTube, looking for booktubers who were talking about spy fiction. Didn't really find a whole lot. But I found great booktubers in Murphy Napier, Daniel Green, Michael Nip, X Catherine, and Karen Ding, Jack Edwards, and so on. The list is enormous. But none of them have ever stated that their favorite genre is spy fiction. There are people making great books in this genre right now, with millions of readers, and not a whole lot of people are doing booktubes about them. You got the standard James Patterson and Dan Browns and Jack Carr, but have you ever heard of Eric Ambler? He wrote a series of 4 novels put together in a collection called Intrigue, and it was published by Alfred Knopf in the 1940s in New York. And it is one of the most staggeringly astounding spy fiction novels, or series of novels, that I have read. And nobody's talking about it. Nobody is talking about The Spy by James Fenimore Cooper, which I actually brought up in my last video. Nobody is talking about how their favorite line in Hamlet is, "We go to gain a little patch of ground that hath in it no profit but the name. To pay 5 ducats, 5, I would not farm it, nor will it yield to Norway or the Pole. A ranker rate should it be sold in fee." That's a side character. He doesn't even show up for like 3 minutes in the entire play, but it's my favorite line. How about this one? "The abuse of greatness is when it disjoins remorse from power." That's from Julius Caesar by Shakespeare as well. My favorite Shakespeare line. Okay, so nobody's talking about this genre. But why am I doing books in general? What do I have that's so goddamn special about this? Authority on books. I mean, I'm not a creative writing major. I'm a political scientist, and I was in the military. My job in the army was to blow shit up. My parents met at a writers' convention in Port Townsend, right here on the peninsula. My dad met James Michener. I was taught how to do poetry in my 5th grade class by David Osman and Judith Walcott. And if you don't know who these people are, David Osman interviewed the Beatniks, put it all on tape for CBC radio, and sent it out as a national news broadcast. And then he sold a book called The Sullen Art. I had no idea he was into poetry. He was just Preston's dad to me. I wrote my first published poem when I was 9 years old, and conveniently enough, it was called 9 Years Old. When I was in 5th grade, I got my first assignments to write stories. First story that I ever wrote was about a papaya fruit who had to fight against a whole world that was being taken over incrementally by a savage and brutal race of fruit called the bananas. And it was pretty dark. My bananas were an allegory to the Nazis. My second written story was an adventure story in the Caribbean, inspired heavily on the Pirates of the Caribbean. And I remember this very specific conversation I was having with my sister, my older sister, Jen. I had written, and there was a mirror on the wall, and she says, "What's with the mirror?" And I said, "Well, it's just a mirror." And she says, "There's nothing special about it?" And I'm like, "No, it's just a mirror on the wall." She's like, "Don't mention anything unless it's special." And that was my first real lesson in writing, and I got it from my big sister. My whole family is creative in some way. My mom used to write poetry, because she never published anything. My dad actually published 2 novels. I've never read either of them. I grew up around books. My mom used to have a bookstore before I can remember, unfortunately, but it was called White Dog Books and was named after our dog, who was a white dog I miss very much. But when that store closed, she still had a bunch of books around the house, trying to sell them off incrementally over time to raise money for us kids. My parents split before I can remember as well, so I grew up 1 week in my mom's and 1 week in my dad's, and that's just how my childhood was until my mom had to move for a job. And in my mom's house, there were books everywhere, and cats, but mainly books. There were books piled and on shelves, and it's not just a thing that I like to read. I think books help me feel safe because there were some things happening. And the books I associated in my childhood with shelter and safety, and television as well. I could always escape into another world through a book or through the television. The first series that I really genuinely loved as a child was The Magic Treehouse, because not only did it transport me into another world from this one, I was reading about two people who were being transported into other worlds through their books. I didn't realize what metacognition was at the time, or meta itself, but those books were fucking meta. The second and third book series that I fell in love with were the series of unfortunate events, which I read every single one. I think that book series made the most profound impact on me as a human being of anything that I've ever read. And then my grandfather gave me a cooler, like a cooler about yay big, and it was full of books. There were like 20 books, paperback books, like mass market paperback books, and they were all either Tom Clancy, W.E.B. Griffin, Stephen Kuntz, or Clive Cussler. There was no other genre in this bucket. It was all spy fiction. I like spy fiction because my grandfather liked spy fiction. He passed it on to me. It's something that I got from him. He loved the genre, and I read all of his favorite books, and I still own all of them. In fact, those Tom Clancy books that I showed you, those were his books. He recently passed away with dementia, and my great-grandma passed away with dementia not long ago as well. So there's an obvious pattern there. I don't know, I guess I have to look forward to that one day. Before I lose my memories, I want to gain every experience that I possibly can. I'm never gonna live again. And one day, I'm probably gonna forget that I ever lived at all. And if I even have a remote idea, I follow it. I wanna do what I wanna do. So I'm gonna do some Booktube. It might not be good, it might not be great, but there's no regret in trying something. This is my favorite fucking genre. Why shouldn't I talk about it?
So he's been looking for somebody who could save him, instead of searching inside for what they gave him. A strong will, strong mind causes mayhem. We could change the world, change times, rearrange them. Staying on pace, running the race. Life is a chase, I don't want a place, I wanna be first. Work till it hurts, dehydrated thirst till I'm in a hearse. High ambitions in the right mind can take you so far. It's like you lived a few lifetimes. Take off from a break off from the weak minds. They can stay soft, you can change lives, you create thoughts, never waste time. You got one shot, you got one life, better pop off. What do you like? Make a dream job. No 9-5, no mean boss, just my life and free thoughts.
You could try to play, but you're never gonna beat me. Look the other way, what I'm doing ain't easy. Bloody hands stained from the people who deceive me. Muddy hands break through the chains, go free me. People like sheep move feet, hurt it easy. You don't wanna be fast asleep when they scheming. Better stand tall, ready for a fight, believe me. When they try the chains, you can say no, free me.